WTIM.
Good morning. You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and it's our morning show. It's brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first in Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment, I have Ted Chapman, coordinator of an upcoming 9/11 ceremony, in Taylorville Fire Chief Matt Aderman. To the both of you, good morning. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad to hear that we're having a good morning. It's a beautiful day to have a good morning. So when it comes to this 9/11 ceremony, I know that we're still a little ways out, but we've been talking about this, and I'm very excited for all the hard work and effort that's being put together right now on this back end to really come together on that date to really not celebrate, but remember what took place. Ted, I know that this is near and dear to your heart and important to you, but I'd like for you to be able to express that to our listeners as well.
Well, I didn't realize the sacrifice of our first responders until I became a part of it back in 2000. And I happened to be at the firehouse the day that this occurred. I was sitting with the guys and watched their response and the just awestruck appearance that was on all our heart, and the prayers that we were praying for those men that were going into those towers. And having served and am a veteran also, the security of our nation has been under attack, and if we let down, it'll reoccur. We've got to keep our alert and stay aware that we are not invincible, that we've been penetrated, and if it happens again, no telling the results of it.
Well, and we've talked about it before, but history does tend to repeat itself, especially if it is forgotten or not, really passed down from generation to generation. And you cannot let something like that happen with the 9/11 ceremony coming up on that day. My question to you guys is, as somebody who was not there, as somebody who was not able to take that situation in as it was, what was that day? What was that day in terms of just fear from the nation, fear for what's happening, what's going on? From your point of views, can I get a little bit of background on that day itself?
Well, my thought was, living in central Illinois, we get kind of lax. We don't think we're as vulnerable as the large cities and stuff like that. But when something like this occurs, we don't know who's coordinated, how extensive this attack could have been. They don't know where the one flight was headed for that crashed out in Pennsylvania. Was it headed back to Washington? Was it headed back to another major city to inflict more casualties and more destruction? So again, we feel kind of isolated here, like, well, it really can't happen here, but it can. We just don't know where. I call them sleeper cells. That's a term I learned in the service, that they can hide and they can spring up at any time and do their thing. Like the recent attack in Israel of October 7th, we don't know where attack could come from, where it's going to take place. So it's just to put the thought into people's, hey, we're not invincible, and we are all vulnerable to something like this.
Did your experience, Matt, have anything to do with your profession of choice or anything like that?
Not at the time, not really. I knew what I was going to do, but I was in college at the time that this happened. I just remember the sense of fear that everybody had across the country, not just in the big cities, but like Ted said, even in the small town, because nobody knew what was going to happen next. So,
and when it comes to this 9/11 ceremony, one thing you'd mentioned to me is kind of a promise to never forget that day. What is that promise? What's that mean to you and to the fire department itself?
Well, I remember specifically after the attacks happened, a few days afterwards, the president at the time was, making his speeches at Ground Zero and everything, and he said something that we'll never forget this day. And I think that's most important to us, is that we're going to have this ceremony to honor not to keep our promise to them that we made back then, to say that everybody that day, the firemen, the policemen, even the people that were working that day, were just doing their job. They were just going about their normal daily life, and to have this such tragic event happen to them, and we as a nation at the time stood up and said, we'll never forget what happened, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that us here in Central Illinois are going to keep that promise.
In terms of your involvement when it comes to this 9/11 ceremony, maybe what's got you excited to do so, maybe what makes you want to do so, whatever the case might be. But what will Taylorville Fire Department's involvement be in a ceremony like this?
Well, with Ted willing, I hope we have a big role to play. We've offered all the support we can to him, no matter whatever he needs. We'll obviously rally our other county fire departments around us and try to make it a large event to where we have a lot of showing out there, a lot of support. The Mayor Barry's 100% behind this. The council's 100% behind it. So as a city, we're gonna support this and make it a nice remembrance.
You've got the dominoes; they're falling, they're in place, and so things are looking good on that end. And so I am excited for that. When it comes to the plans for it, and just kind of a general rundown of events or just ideas that we're throwing out right now, what could people maybe expect? And this doesn't have to be set in stone, but what could maybe I expect from a 9/11 ceremony on the square?
Well, of course, first off is going to be the presenting of the colors and the national anthem. Chief Aderman has already said that the fire department is going to purchase the various organizational flags, like Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Fire. There's a flag for the EMTs. Police have their flags also. We're going to present the colors and the national anthem. We're still working on that, and an opening prayer given by one of the ministers that would be available or something. We also are talking about the possibility of reading the names of the first responders that perished in that event. And then we're fortunate in that we have a man residing in Christian County that was a police officer in New York at that time that we've contacted, consented to be our keynote speaker. And then, of course, we have a special ceremony for fallen firefighters or firefighters that have died, and it's called the bell ceremony that we're planning on doing. Hopefully, with the if we can find a bagpiper to play the Amazing Grace, that's always very moving. And then I have fallen in love with the song Lee Greenwood's "God Bless the USA," and then of course taps and a closing prayer. That's all tentative. It's up to what, as a group, we decide that we want to try to go for.
Well, and yes, again, not set in stone, and we're still flexible. We might add, we might take away if necessary. You mentioned the reading of the names of the first responders. I would love for that to happen in terms of putting that together. You really need to hear the names sometimes to really kind of not remember the name themselves, but just realize that was a family member, that was a friend, that was a loved one. So I'd love to see that. And we've talked about the speaker, the former New York Police Department officer that lives here in Christian County that will be doing so. For you, bringing him on had to have been just, come on, this is a marriage. This is a perfect match made for this ceremony and for him to do so.
Now, I first learned of him. He actually worked for the Sheriff's Department as the jail administrator, and I happened to be ministering in the county jail at that time when I first met him. And then, of course, Chief Deputy Baker, he knows him personally too, and he mentioned him. And I think we pretty well agreed that would be something to hear his side of what it was like there that day.
Yeah, you go from the potential to read the names of the first responders into somebody who was there in that situation, in that moment, that'll surely be a powerful message that will stick with folks. And it all goes back to remembering this, staying vigilant, staying aware that this could happen again, and we cannot let history repeat itself. Joining me in studio, I have Ted Chapman, coordinator of an upcoming 9/11 ceremony here in Taylorville, and Taylorville Fire Chief Matt Aderman joining us here in studio. We'll be right back around with these gentlemen in just a moment to talk more about that ceremony and more. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM. Your information station, WTIM.
You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show. It's brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment back around, Ted Chapman, coordinator of an upcoming 9/11 ceremony, and Taylorville Fire Chief Matt Aderman. We talked a lot about the ceremony itself, the promise to never forget, the experiences had by both of these two, and then also just the importance and the sacrifice that was had on that day. My question to you is, others that are involved and getting those folks involved, Matt, who is already on board, and what do some of those names and faces look like?
Well, again, Ted's done a wonderful job of getting us out to a lot of the key players in this. And obviously the city of Taylorville, Mayor Barry, and the council are 100% on board, as well as the fire department and Dwayne and the police department over there. But also we got the sheriff's department. Chief Deputy Baker has been excellent in helping us out, and he's offered all support he can. Like Ted was speaking earlier about getting the keynote speaker and everything lined up for us. Chairman Sharp and the county board are 100% behind this and allowing us to use the county grounds to host the ceremony, so we couldn't. Paula Dunn from Dunn's Ambulance is also going to be helping out a little bit too. So it's everybody just kind of came together. It was a no-brainer. As soon as Ted got the group together, everybody's 100% on board. And what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So I think we could make it like probably a 4 or 5 hour thing with all the help that we're getting, but I think we're going to keep it around about an hour.
Hour and a half
so,
at the very most. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, and Randy Miller at the radio station, I think Ted said as soon as he came to him, they were like 1,000%, whatever help you need and everything. So it's been great.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that as time moves closer.
Sure.
And for you, Ted, obviously that's a laundry list and a lot of good folks Matt just mentioned to us here. Who else do we want to see involved, though?
Well, I'd like to see like our clubs are like the Lions Club, the Moose, the various organizations that we do have, the Kiwanis, because whether we realize it or not, this has affected a broad spectrum of us and our young people. I'd love to get cooperation with the schools, the churches, that we can let our young people realize that this was a very dramatic experience for those that were alive at the time. We hear about the wars and stuff like that, but we've not heard a lot about this attack on the World Trade Centers. And to realize that wasn't the first attack on the World Trade Centers. In 1993, there was explosions in the parking garage under the World Trade Centers, and it did a lot of damage, but it was soon forgotten. It wasn't kept in the eye as an attack, where this was very out in the open, covered by every major news media that was out there. And like Chief Aderman says, we don't want to let this just pass into the sea of forgetfulness. We want to make it aware that the United States is considered an enemy of a lot of nations out there. So
do with that as you will. And the other thing too, I mean, you mentioned forgetfulness. I never even knew about an attack that took place in 1993. So it just kind of goes back to, again, not forgetting what has happened and making sure that stays in the public view. When it comes to the schools, that's the big one for me. And because if you're wanting to get kids remembering this and knowing of this event and what happened, you got to start with the schools. Is there any plan to maybe bring like a Taylorville choir or somebody like that to maybe find a way to get them involved?
Well, we'll have to talk to probably the superintendent and see what they would be willing to participate in if possible. But that's something that I've not got around to just yet. But hopefully we can get our young people involved in it too.
I'm sure Brandy will lend you an ear. I don't think you will meet much resistance there. And so hopefully that's for me, the one thing that I would really like to see with this as well. Not just the reading of the names, but also getting the schools involved. I think it starts with the youth. If the youth don't hold on to it, then it's not going to stay.
Yeah.
It's not going to stick. So that would be where I would like to see us go. With just about a minute to go here, if we could get some contact information out there and just some general, how do we get involved type of information?
Well, they can always contact me. My phone number is 217-827-4155. If they can't get a hold of me, they could probably contact the fire department, and someone there would be able to help them with what we have need of. And let's just get out. Let's remember it. Let's pray for our nation. Let's stand with our leadership. Let's back them as much as we can. Pray for our troops. Our troops are in the forefront again. 36 hours in those stealth bombers to take out Iran's nuclear program. Those men stayed awake 36 hours to carry out that mission. And we've got others around the world right now that's still standing in the forefront to defend our nation.
Yes, sir. Ted Chapman, coordinator of an upcoming 9/11 ceremony. Taylorville Fire Chief Matt Aderman. To the both of you, thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You've got it. You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show, brought to you by People's Bank and Trust and Landmark of Taylorville.
Your information station. WTIM.